Taxi Driver, 1976, follows Travis Bickle, an honorably discharged Marine who fought in Vietnam as he becomes a taxi driver in New York. Suffering from insomnia and loneliness, his mental health steadily deteriorates, culminating in a failed assassination attempt and a triple homicide. I believe that Travis Bickle is suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. As viewers, we have no real knowledge about how Travis Bickle was before the film starts, and thus before he went to war as a Marine. Having said that, though, the film's main character appears to be suffering from PTSD as he easily meets the criteria for it. Criteria A, specifically A1, directly experiencing a traumatic event. Serving as a Marine during the Vietnam War, while it is not directly shown, it is easily assumed that the character witnessed a number of unpleasant, if not totally horrific things. This would be the cause of his disorder. Criteria B. While the main character does not outwardly exhibit any of the symptoms in this category, B1, recurrent distressing memories, and B2, recurrent distressing dreams, could be the reason for his insomnia, or at least linked to it. Criteria C. Persistent avoidance of stimuli associated with the event. Well, this is much the same as criteria B insofar as it relates to past experiences Travis Bickle would be remembering or even reliving, because as an audience, we never catch a glimpse of this internal dialogue. It is difficult to say whether or not the character is actually avoiding stimulus related to possible PTSD. Criteria D. D2. Persistent negative beliefs about the world. Travis Bickle has persistent negative beliefs about New York. He refers to the city as dirty and disgusting, with smells so vile he suffers from headaches because of it. It's not just the city, though. It's the people living in it, too. Travis Bickle is so put off by the people of the city that at one point he expresses his wish that it could all just be destroyed. D4. A persistent negative emotional state. Travis Bickle exists in a perpetually negative emotional state. He complains throughout the film of loneliness and disgust from the state of the city, and loneliness as he appears to have trouble interacting with people. D5. Diminished interest or participation in activities. Travis Bickle has few, if any, interests. Well, once again, we cannot know if he had any interest before becoming a Marine. During the film, he is not interested in politics, film, music, and does not have any hobbies. He drives a taxi 6 to 7 days a week for 12 hours a day, sometimes more. In scenes without other characters, Travis Bickle is shown to write in his journal, watch television, and lay on his bed not doing much. D6. Feelings of detachment or estrangement from others. Travis Bickle seems very detached from others. He's honest and straightforward to a fault. He does not interact much with other cabbies, and when he shoots a man in the face in a grocery store, he shows no remorse. The character does seem to care about certain people, namely Betsy and Iris. Even with these two characters, though, who he doesn't just avoid, his interactions are awkward and somewhat out of tune, almost as if he has trouble identifying with their thoughts and interests. D7. Persistent inability to experience positive emotions. Travis Bickle has a lot of trouble experiencing positive emotions. The closest it seems he comes to experiencing positive emotions in the film are the scenes where Betsy is present, at least until she leaves him. Even when Betsy is present, though, Travis's character appears slightly uncomfortable, almost like he's afraid of making a mistake and scaring her off, which he eventually does. Criteria E, specifically E2. Reckless or self-destructive behavior. Travis at the end of the film exhibits a lot of reckless and self-destructive behavior. He writes a letter to Iris explaining that by the time she gets it, he will already be dead. He then goes to a rally for presidential nominee Palantine with the presumable intent of assassinating him. He goes to the rally fully aware that there are multiple Secret Service agents there to protect Palantine. Likely, he assumed the security force would kill him after the assassination, hence his letter to Iris. When he fails to kill the nominee, Travis instead leaves to find Iris, shoots Matthew the pimp and 2 other men, before trying to commit suicide only to realize he has no bullets left. E6. Sleep disturbances. Travis Bickle has difficulty falling asleep and staying asleep. He complains of constant insomnia, causing the days to feel like they go on and on. Criteria F. Disturbances in previous criteria have been met for at least 1 month. Has Travis Bickle been experiencing these disturbances for at least 1 month? While the timeline of the film is somewhat unclear, the character appears to have been exhibiting worsening symptoms for multiple months, if not years. This is because the political rallies seen in the film are likely multiple weeks or months apart. Once we account for the fact that he's been driving a taxi for at least several weeks, as he describes in his journal, the longer timeline of the film becomes more apparent. Criteria G. Causes significant stress in important areas of functioning. The disturbances Travis Bickle has been experiencing seem to be impacting his life in a very negative way. This seems relatively clear when accounting for his reckless behavior, depressive mood, insomnia, and lack of general interest in art or socialization. Criteria H. Disturbances are not attributable to substance abuse. Travis Bickle, in the film, is shown to use some substances for headaches and presumably other bodily maintenance. Having said that, it seems he only starts using them after driving a taxi for a while. Additionally, later in the film, he stops taking pills entirely. This makes it difficult to suggest that his behaviors are the result of drug use, as the drugs he uses seem to be mild, and he only uses them for a short while. Conclusions. Travis Bickle in Taxi Driver 1976 appears to be more of a worst-case scenario than an actual representation of PTSD. His actions toward the end of the film are extreme, which seem to be a more violent and sensationalized depiction of PTSD than one would normally expect to see. While Taxi Driver was an intriguing film, I don't believe I would recommend it as a tool for teaching graduate students in clinical psychology or counseling. While the film's themes of loneliness and self-destruction are likely good to be aware of in a clinical setting, Taxi Driver seems to do its job much better as a piece of art than a tool for learning about PTSD. This is because, while less fun, actual case studies of veterans with PTSD likely have a better chance of teaching students about PTSD, how people cope with it, how best to treat it. Now, having said that, while I do not believe that the film provides an accurate representation of post-traumatic stress disorder, and therefore learning, I do believe that it might serve to catch students' attention and get them thinking. So while I wouldn't recommend the film as a teaching tool, I would recommend it as a start for discussion or debate.